You got to watch out sometimes. As an engineer, you're dealing with more than just a recording process. Just like a bartender must deal with more than making the drinks. You're obliged to handle personal issues, band politics, power struggles, sometimes marital and financial differences, unwanted crushes and sexual compulsions occasionally, musical and personal insecurities daily, political and religious preferences, sometimes family issues come up, even health preferences like COVID vaccine options. I've experienced that personally. Sometimes just outright plain anger and hostility. It can get ugly, so you want to watch out. Don't take it personally, keep it professional. Don't get pulled into the drama. Recording studio work is like being on a sports team. It's unlike any other art form except maybe ballet and orchestra. One of the problems of recording at a local band and artist project studio is that you will often be expected to behave as if you're dealing with a famous band with a large budget. The same result is expected of you either way. It's as if you were doing a $50,000 or $100,000 production, but it's really on a shoestring budget. The band or artist is often coming from a place of huge ego, destined to become famous. Thus, you're just lucky to be involved. The complete opposite is actually more based in reality. They are green at this recording process, part-time musicians at best with an out-of-pocket budget. Often everybody's chipping in a little bit, or one guy's paying more than the others. That can be tricky. They've got a handful of songs with no real marketing plan or promotional effort, just playing local gigs or something like that. They're really quite lucky to have found somebody like you, actually, to have your interest and availability as an engineer or a producer, someone with a nice, clean local recording studio nearby with reasonable rates in their neighborhood. Otherwise, they would be attempting to record themselves or maybe traveling to some studio in another town, perhaps paying more. So my advice is don't be ego-rolled. Make them feel welcome and appreciated in your studio, but don't be intimidated by their pushiness or their imminent success. My next question is, who is producing the project? It may not be you, and that's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you will work less as an engineer, not having to make decisions about the music, the song quality, the arrangement, whether or not the song is any good commercially. The band or the artist is in control. Easy, right? On the other hand, they may not have as much experience with the recording process as you do. You're in the studio every day. This might be their first or second time doing this. Be careful not to get pulled into the role of the reluctant producer. It happens all the time. If you're going to be asked to produce or co-produce the project and not just engineer it, establish that requirement up front and not in the middle of the session. You also make sure to spell out your agreement with them in writing, if possible, and not just a verbal. A simple contract ahead of time goes a long way. It'll be really clear who's getting what out of this arrangement if you draw it up. How are you to be paid? Are you to be paid at all? If not, is there any additional credit or points off the sale of the project? 3, 5 points, 10% of sales? And is that before or after the profit is made? Do you get paid right from the get-go, or is this going to be after they've recouped all their money and studio time and all that? After all that, the compensation may be little or nothing. So really think twice before you start making suggestions as a producer. It doesn't usually pay too well, and you may just alienate that brand new client that is happy to be there, but that is not really open to your input, at least not yet, no matter how sage your advice may be. In this day and age, most recording projects are vastly different than they were in the past, where artists would hunker down in one studio for weeks or even months at a time, completing the whole record from tracking all the way to mixdown. Those days are long gone. Maybe they would go to a mastering guy at the end for a day or so just to finish up and then send the whole project off to press up some CDs. These days, it's really a double-edged sword. Clients are going to hop from one engineer or producer to another, often on a whim or personality vibe, frequently determined by the budget or lack thereof. They might start with one studio and then mix at another, switch back and forth, overdub at home, maybe go on to Fiverr online to find the bottom of the barrel lowest price for services. How do you compete with that, right? Sometimes it's nice though, a fresh project drops right in your lap. You'll get a brand new client coming in on a referral because the last guy they worked with didn't do this or that, fill in the blank. Or the reverse is also true, and sometimes that may sting a bit. They may be asking you to export the project to another studio for completion, transferring the files to a portable hard drive for them to take, or maybe uploading to Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that. That process can be tricky as well. The sword cuts both ways. Sometimes you'll be losing a project to another guy. Try not to take offense or be hurt by that. It's just a sign of our transient times. There's an abundance of options out there available at all times. So just make sure to charge for your transfer services if that happens. Don't do that for free. It takes up time and care to do that right. So make sure you charge for that, and make sure you get paid for that transfer before you release those files or hand out the link to the Dropbox account, because after that there's little or no incentive for them to pay you promptly. So just always keep the professional attitude. Keep it positive even if you're feeling poorly. Your client will most likely remember your helpfulness and good form. It's like an international travel plan. Without a good flight plan, your beautiful airplane never really even gets off the ground. It never leaves the hangar. So be a good pilot and schedule a good flight plan at the very beginning.